Okay. And welcome everybody to the 2020 World Championship Formula One Sakhir Race 16. I know you're asking, the first question you must be asking is Sakhir. Where is Sakhir? What is Sakhir? Who is Sakhir? I don't know. I am assuming it's some kind of Hollywood thing because this week Kurt Russell signed for Mercedes, as you can see by the thumbnail. Fantastic. I think it was Kurt Russell. It was somebody Russell. I don't know. Maybe Lewis has got a new dog and it's a Russell, a Jack Russell. Is it Jack Russell that signed for Mercedes? We don't know. We're not really sure. But whoever it is, it was Russell. And he was fantastic. He was fantastic. Anyway, on to the race. Welcome Fabio. For
Hello.
being the hello. He says hello. Normally it's ciao because he's
Ciao.
Italian, you see. But not this week. He's obviously a George Russell fan this week, and he's going to be saying hello and speaking in very proper and correct English, which is fantastic.
Yes.
Just to celebrate.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Just to celebrate what is a fantastic George Russell. George Russell, Formula One Grand Prix, his first in the Mercedes, I believe. Okay, so just a quick race rundown, just to get through it. George was fantastic, and that was great and everything. But just to say, it was a Mercedes 1-2 on the grid. Valtteri Bottas getting the upper hand there, and in pole position over the other Mercedes, whoever that is. And they were off the line, and then Lewis Hamilton, 7 times World Championship, was into first place through the. Oh no, it wasn't Lewis Hamilton.
Nope.
He was ill. Sorry, I got carried away when I said Mercedes. Mercedes. Lewis Hamilton. Oh no, I did it again. But no, it was George Russell in the other Mercedes who was promoted miraculously from the Williams team into what is potentially the best car.
Potentially. Okay. Yeah. Carry on.
Well, I say potentially because he was only in second place. I mean, it was Lewis's car, so yeah, I think it probably is the best. But anyway, it was a British car made by British people, driven by a British man in a British way, who went into the first corner in first place, pushing the Finn slightly out of the way. A little bit rough, but tremendous attitude showed. Then Bottas, trying to react, got the power down and had a little squiggle and left George to just shoot off into the distance, in a very Lewis Hamilton type way. That will be coming up a lot, I should think, today, because I've just got the Murray Walker on me. Then basically Russell just pissed off into the distance and left everybody for dead, which was fantastic. And then obviously down at, I think it was turn four. Everybody was on Bottas's back, and unfortunately, the only sensible person on his back was Max Verstappen.
Is he?
I would have believed the great accident, Crash Stappen, would have been the sensible one. But in fact, yes, Perez trying to go around the outside of Max Verstappen, and Leclerc trying to go up the inside of Max Verstappen. And Verstappen thought, hello, there's a sandwich here I don't want to be in. He backed out, braked early, and let the other two have a crash together, which was, again, very unlike Max, but nonetheless showed what a mature and sensible driver he has become. Well, unfortunately, it wasn't to end there. I mean, this was Leclerc's fault. We won't beat around the bush. Mm-hmm. It was the young Pasty Pastry's fault, as he caused what could only be described as some sort of messy cream kind of pastry type experiment going on down there. Max Verstappen went round the outside, but unfortunately there was no room. Very dusty, and he was unable to control his car off the circuit and crashed into the barrier. Shortly beside him was Leclerc, who were both out of the race. Perez, however, managed to keep his wits about him, had a little spin, and basically dropped to the back of the pack. And we all thought that was it for him. We all thought race over from there. What else can you do? You're at the back of the pack. Everybody else getting away. But this was an unusual circuit because of how short it was. Lap times were down about 58 seconds a lap, something like that. And so not to give up, basically. And he indeed didn't. And with some excellent strategy, he came through and took advantage of various yellow flags and safety cars to make what is considered probably his best ever race, and will be his best ever race in Formula One, because this is, of course, his penultimate race. So, yeah, unless he's very lucky next week, this will be his pinnacle, his crowning glory, and shows what a great racer he really is. Unfortunately, a little too late, I feel. But nonetheless, moving onwards, it was Kurt Russell out front, Jack Russell, George Russell out front in Lewis Hamilton, 7 times world champion winner car, who just drove away from the pack. Was honestly very mature in the way he controlled the pace. He was constantly in touch with his pits, asking them, well, should he drive faster? Should he drive slower? Should he just back into Bottas?
Carry on.
Oh, God, this is going to take a while, I can see.
Carry on.
Yes. And so that was it. It was a fantastic drive, and nothing else happened. He won the race. No, that's not what happened. A lot else happened, because sometime later, Perez making his way through the pack. In fact, had a big car advantage. Lots of other teams was really struggling, like the McLarens, like Aitken, who also was on his debut. And in fact, Aitken at some particular point, I can't remember which lap now, 63 maybe, crashed, came out of the last corner, went wide, and crashed into the barrier, took his front wing off. Unfortunately, the wing remained on the track, and the FIA, being the FIA, decided to call a safety car out for this. And then Mercedes decided to cover the safety car because they had enough of a gap to get both their cars in easily, put new tyres on, allow them to get fastest lap, remain in the lead, and be ready for an overtake. Any potential overtakes from behind from whoever was in third place, which at this particular time was probably Sainz, Ricciardo, Ocon, Stroll, Perez. Perez having got up to 7th, by the way, by this time. And that was a really, really good. Unfortunately, something went wrong. There was a Jack Russell in the pits. I think it was Lewis Hamilton's dog, actually, that messed the tyres up and confused the pit teams. And so, unfortunately, they put the wrong tyres onto George Russell's car, which gave him a mixed set, which you're definitely not allowed to do in Formula One anymore. And that meant he had to pit again, which put him way back down in 15th place, something like that. I can't remember, just way, way back. Absolutely destroyed his race. I was in tears at this point. I was absolutely in tears at this point, thinking, what was I thinking? I was thinking, oh my goodness, George Russell is going to have, the race of his life. He's going to be a potential there for Mercedes next year if he wins this race. And then they just go and fuck it up for him in such a big way. I was in fits of tears. I really was. And just to make matters worse here, they then realised what they were doing when they stacked with Bottas, who came in second, because obviously he was behind Jack Russell, Kurt Russell, George Russell, and they managed to put him out on the same set of tyres that he'd come in on, so that completely wasted his race as well. So he didn't even get second place. Oh my God, what a mistake to make. And this is not the first time Mercedes have made this kind of mistake, I have to say. But, being a Mercedes supporter, I won't mention anything to do with that. Is it
a brilliant British team that you were mentioning at the very beginning of the stream?
Well, the team is brilliantly British.
Yeah, okay. No, I just want
to.
yeah.
The pit crew are German.
Yeah. Right.
Of course.
Right.
Of course. And you know who makes the radio? That they transmitted the call over? German. Or Japanese, probably.
Right. And the tires are Italian, so that's the blame too, right?
Definitely Italian, and it was a problem.
Yeah.
So as you can see, everybody but the British was to blame for this particular incident. Anyway, just to finish up there, after all of this, George Russell was put out. He was still doing pretty damn well, 4th place, etc., and overtaking everybody. He still could have won the race. Unfortunately, he then managed to pick up a puncture. So if that didn't screw his race up completely, and he did his best, I've got to say, he was overtaking cars left, right, and in front of him mainly. Those were the main cars he was overtaking, the ones in front of him. But it was also on the left and the right as well. And so, yes, unfortunately, after the puncture happened, that then put him back down again into 12th place or something like that. And he had to fight his way back up to, I'm guessing 8th place.
Yeah, 9th.
I'm guessing 8th or 9th.
Yeah.
And so just 1 place behind Bottas. I mean, I was stunned at this point. I'd kind of given up the ghost, really. I didn't want to live anymore. And so I started watching Hollywood movies, Kurt Russell movies, as you can guess by this time, just because I was in such a shock. And I didn't care what I was watching. Any old rubbish would have done after this because of the performance. And so, what can I say? Kurt Russell signed for Mercedes. That would have been a better story than the one we had at the Sakhir Grand Prix. And over to you, Fabio. Well, how did you see the race?
Oh, okay. So first of all, I remember the picture of the race in my mind, and I was really sad for what happened to Russell. We've been talking about the guy in really good terms, and it was going really strong, and I was already wondering in my mind, okay, how is Bottas going to commit suicide? Because that would have been the honorable thing to do. Because really, and so I was really blown out by what happened. But the image that I have in my mind of the race is when they fucked it up, the pit stop. Because, by the way, I mean, you try to put some pink, light on it. You forgot to mention that the pit stop was totally worthless. There was no reason why they would have pitted. But anyway, when they made that mess, the camera panned on the right when I think Russell or Bottas was leaving, and close to the Mercedes there is the Ferrari pit, and there were 2 mechanics, that usually they're there, to take the tire guns away, just to give some space, and there were those 2 mechanics that they were watching that massacre which happened, and they couldn't fucking believe what they were looking at. They were just, what the fuck did you guys do? I mean, how did that happen? That was insanely bad. And the other funny thing is that how they kept, looking at the block notes to see if the numbers of the tires were correct. They were actually not really sure, who got those tires. Because that's the reason why they had to call Russell back after 1 lap, because they put one of Bottas' tires on Russell's car, which, by the way, so this I saw people talked about that. They say, well, what's the point? He had 4 yellow tires, so they were not mixed. The thing is that every driver is allotted a specific number of tire. I mean, there is a number of the tire, and you cannot have drivers using the other driver's tire. So that's why they had to stop him and to make sure that he had his tires. It won't be penalized because the rules say that if you realize it, you have 3 laps to correct the mistake, and that happened in 1 lap. So that was not a big deal. But it totally destroyed this race, and the guy was in tears. I mean, it just went from going on a proper car, winning the race, to just fuck it. How did you guys fuck me up so bad that now I am in the same position I was driving with the Williams? So
yeah,
that was was really bad.
I think the theme of the Grand Prix was people crying. Everybody seemed to be crying for different reasons. Yes. So maybe in the top 10, there were at least 5 or 6 people crying. And we should say, congratulations, obviously, to Perez. Yeah. Sergio Perez, Mexican driver, the first since 1970 when Rodriguez won, I don't know, Brazil, maybe? Somewhere like Brazil. I can't remember. I wasn't watching it back then, obviously. But I've heard that he was a fantastic race driver, and Brazil was a spectacular track back in those days, of course, before the CNRS. In fact, it wasn't even held there. But anyway, that's another story. So the first Mexican driver, well done to him. He's raced nearly 200 races. This is his first victory. He's had many chances along the way and been very unlucky. And all credit to him. I don't think he's lucked into this at all. I think this is a well-deserved win, and is the crowning glory of his Formula One career. So
and he hasn't got a seat for next year. So fuck it, So it's it was. I mean, it was at the right place at the right time. It was a very good race. But before I forget, sorry, allow me. Because I read something, and I'm saying that not because I believe it, but because I found it super funny about the Leclerc, Perez, and Verstappen thing. So, and again, this is not my theory. I just say it because I think it's really, really funny. But I read somebody claiming that the problem, who really caused the accident, was Verstappen. Because and listen, it's crazy, right? But just listen to it.
Yeah, I'm going to go with it. Okay.
So Verstappen caused the accident because, as you told, really rightly so, it was the smart guy, which, fuck me, I mean, Verstappen being the smart guy, he brake early because say, oh, this is gonna be a fucking disaster, but by braking early, Perez, there is nobody there, he just, made the corner, he cut the corner. And of course, Leclerc was way too fast and would have probably not made the corner. But, I read that, it was Verstappen's fault because he broke early. Leclerc was, taken by surprise by the fact he braked early. The other guy saw, okay, there is nobody here, so I'm going to take the corner, and that caused the accident.
Yeah, okay, that's one way of looking at it.
It's a pretty funny
genuine.
Way.
It's genuine, I think, as well, because of course we know that from last week with how Grosjean swerved across the track because he didn't see anybody in his mirrors. Then there's no way Perez could have seen Leclerc coming, and likewise, Leclerc just locked up, so he was out of control when he actually hit Perez. So
I thought you were going to say, well, you talk about Grosjean. I thought you were going to say a funnier thing, what happened last race, the race before that, when Vettel said, well, Leclerc is going to be really more careful because, it's good luck that I braked because he got into the corner way too fast. And if I didn't, I would have smashed into him.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that Vettel was kind of vindicated, in a bad way. But
I mean, how many seasons did it take Max Verstappen to learn not to crash into
mm-hmm,
people? Right, it was like 3 seasons before he finally got
right,
it under control, and
right.
this is Leclerc's second season. So
I
technically
mean,
speaking, he's got next year as well that he can
yeah,
still do this mistake and go and hopefully do it. But
and
again, it shows that he's going to be a future world champion still.
yeah, and I mean, to be fair, if he has to make mistakes, it's better that he does mistake this year with this car and not
Yeah.
with a proper, with a car which is aiming to win the championship. Because I mean, in this situation, fucking, I mean, it gets fourth or it doesn't get to the to the checker flag. It doesn't really make too much of a difference. By the way, he made a fantastic qualifying. Nobody was really expecting him to be where he was. I mean, fourth time in qualifying was,
Yeah.
It was a hell of a lap. He said that was his best lap ever. And if you see the camera car, I mean, it was insane considering the tool that he was driving.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, he fucked it up royally. There is no.
Yeah, he didn't just outqualify Vettel. He absolutely slammed into the curb and back again. So again, he showed that Vettel has really got nothing on him, and so it just goes to show that Ferrari, that all that time ago, when I was criticizing them for trying to dump a four-time world champion. Was a silly move. It goes to show, actually, no, they were absolutely right. Yeah. And I feel that Mercedes are going to be the same situation because, what's Lewis going to do if George gets the place, right?
Listen, this is. I mean, it opens so many scenarios. So, okay, let's start from the most stupid one. But, people will talk about that. The most stupid one is that people will say that Verstappen is right when he said that 90% of the drivers in the field, if given, Mercedes car, they would win the championship. And so I don't think it's totally super fair. Well, first of all, it's because George Russell is not like anybody else. He's a top class. He's a really fast driver, and I mean, he showed. He's really in a class of his own. I put it in the same class of as Leclerc and Verstappen and all these people. He's really fast. First of all, and the second thing is that I think. I might be wrong here, okay? But I think that if Lewis was driving the car and he was in the same situation, he would have said something to the pit when they called him back, to change 100%, the tires.
100%.
He would have probably said what Schumacher would have done. He would have asked, no, I'm not coming, because, I have the situation under control. Why are you calling me back? So there is that. But again, so this is the first scenario. The second scenario is affecting Bottas, because really, that was his race, right? I mean, Lewis is out of the game. He's driving the best car by a mile. He knows the car. He manages to qualify ahead of the guy by a very slim margin. I mean, the track is short, but it was really, really, really close. And then he was smoked on the start.
Not just one start, but several starts, right?
Yeah, but I mean, this one, the guy is not supposed to be doing that good of a start with a car that he doesn't know. And he just smoked him, and it was, and the pace, it was faster, consistently faster. Bottas had no way to catch on him. He tried, he couldn't do it. Actually, there was a team radio at a certain point where Russell was asking if he could use more curbs. He said, well, I could shave a tenth or 2 tenths out of the lap. And then he said, well, the other one, meaning Bottas, is using more curbs. So, I mean, I should use more curbs too. So Bottas was really trying, and he couldn't catch him. And that's the second scenario. The third scenario, and then I quit, affects Lewis, because Lewis hasn't signed yet his contract. Now that might have sounded a really smart move at the beginning, but now with Russell performance, I mean, so let's say, for example, you are the owner of the team, right? And Lewis comes and says, "Oh, I want 50 millions because this is more or less, the amount of money that he wants." And okay, you want 50 millions, you want the world championship, yeah. But hold on a second, last race we just put that guy over there, and he wasn't too shabby about it. So are you really worth 40 millions or 50 million? And I think this is something that eventually it will come into the
equation.
The back of So
I thought he had already. Well, I don't think they've actually put pen to paper, but I thought they had an agreement because of the potential wage cap coming in. Lewis and Toto had sat down and agreed a 3-year, 44 million deal.
Yeah, I don't know.
That was my understanding. So I think that deal's been done. Lewis is at Mercedes for another 3 years for 44 million a year. And 44 million a year. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But anyway, he's worth it, obviously, because he is Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah, but you know,
world champion.
You know how it works in F1, right? I mean, until you put pen to paper, it doesn't really mean nothing. And actually, even if you put pen to paper, a lot of times it doesn't mean nothing. So
yeah, I think lower down the grid. But when you get to these sums of monies, the buyout clauses are so big that even the top teams wouldn't dare break a contract like that, because they'd have to pay him 88 million or something stupid,
Well, you see, I mean, there were rumors that, and I don't know how good they are, but one of the rumors was, that Mercedes was going to pay, after the race. One of the options that Mercedes has is basically to pay Bottas not to race next year.
Yeah, pay his contract.
Russell. Yeah. Which again,
and they also have to pay Williams to get Russell as well.
Yeah.
To pay for a new driver for Williams. So all in all, I think again, I'm not certain, but it's about 14 million, something like that, plus an extra 5 million or so, or 4 million for Williams. So it's about 20 million to buy or to get Bottas out of the car.
And by the way, chances are that Russell is going to race next race too, because by law, I mean they're trying to, I don't know if to change the law.
I think there's two sets. No, there's two sets of rules that go here, and they conflict slightly with each other because it's a back-to-back race. That's the actual deal with that.
So there is an FIA rule, but there is also a law in Bahrain, which says that
Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, sorry, in Abu Dhabi. I mean, I always fuck those two. I don't know why. Maybe because they're both in a place where nobody gives a fuck about cars.
Yeah,
but anyway,
basically.
Yeah. So, but I think there is a law that prohibits someone, if you got COVID, to go actually to fly there. So it's kind of sketchy, but see what happens. But
yeah, I mean, again, I think Formula One have got enough of an in with the Bahrainian king to just bypass that if they need to, based on the fact that Lewis by that time would have had FIA regulated allowance to race in the next race.
I would have
which is today. I mean, we should know today, because the rule is that he has to have a clear test today into the FIA in order to be able to race in Abu Dhabi next week.
Yeah, but he has to have 4 to race in Abu Dhabi, according to Abu Dhabi's law. So that is I think is the problem.
But I don't think that's a problem, because there's plenty of time to get those 4 in before having to fly out there.
Yeah, but it's the timing, I think. I mean, I'm not sure about it, but I think they have to make 4, and there has to be a certain amount of time between them. So, I mean, I'm not really precise on that, but I thought it's a big issue. And I kind of agree with you. I mean, F1 on paper might push some, paper here and there. The thing is that I would have been way more optimistic if Bernie Ecclestone was still in F1.
Yeah,
Because
right.
I could have seen that being done in some way, shape, or form. I'm not really sure about Liberty if they can have the skill and the stamina actually to try to find a way to bend something without anybody really realizing it. So I'm on the fence here. I wouldn't be surprised if he was not allowed to race next race.
Yeah, I would also think that Mercedes would want to give Russell another crack at it.
Yeah.
And turn around to Hamilton and say, look, we'll just rest you on the bench.
Yeah.
It's no problem. You've got your contract, here it is, and we're all good to go, kind of thing.
Which, by the way, it's the only good thing. The only good thing for Russell, which came, well, I mean, not the only good thing. I think that one of the best things which came out for Russell out of that race is because that he has a credit with Mercedes, and I mean, when you listen at the end of the race, I mean, James Ellison and Toto Wolff getting on the radio and telling the guy live, I'm sorry for what has happened. I mean, that's a big check that you have, okay. It's something you can bring to the bank because that's really heavy. It's a heavy thing. So
yeah. I mean, I agree. Although I think there is some there's a kind of a whitewashing going on here, because one thing I did notice is that when George came into the pits, he missed his markers by quite a significant amount, which caused the pit people to then panic a little bit and go, oh god, we got to go now, shift everything down. Now, I don't know whether they'd lined their tyres up, right, for the first pit stop and the second pit stop. I don't know exactly how that was going on. I didn't look like it was very well organised anyway. So I'm not saying it would have done. But that kind of mistake doesn't help. And maybe there could have been a realization that they had the wrong tyres, and then they could have stopped at least that mistake happening, in which case he still could have won the race.
No, you're right. It doesn't help. I think that what helps Russell is the fact that that pit stop was totally unnecessary. So in the overall, and also, I mean, listen, regardless of, and I agree with you, he kind of missed a little bit the mark, but that's something that your pit crew has got to be prepared for, especially if you go for a double pit. I mean, it's something that you call, and you cannot really blame. I mean, you can blame the driver, but it's something which is not totally unexpected. And the way they fucked it up was royal. I mean, it was beautiful to watch in his tragedy.
The panic was just written all over everybody's face as they're all looking at each other, going, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? Oh, it's the wrong tire. Shall I put it on? Shall I not put it on? What do I do? And
also Russell was really keen on the pit stop. He before the first pit stop, when he was racing, he asked to Bono, said, well, when I'm stopping, remind me that I have to stop at the first at the first box, because he didn't want to fuck it up. And actually, it was really funny. I noticed that when he got into the pit lane, he went on the right immediately. He drove in front of the medical car, where the pit is. He just said, "Oh, I mean, I was wondering, okay, what the fuck is going in there?" He didn't want to miss it for no reason at all. So I mean, it was a clusterfuck. I mean, I think that Mercedes, really should not have done that. There was no reason. I understand you. I mean, it is a good point. You say, well, there is a safety car and you try to cover your back. But, that car showed to be so much faster than the other ones that I don't think it was really necessary.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it normally, under normal circumstance, would have been necessary. But we were talking in chat beforehand or after the race. We messaged each other, and I think you made the most salient point, which was all the cars behind him were also on old rubber, None of them chose to pit.
Yeah,
right? There was nobody on fresh rubber behind them.
Right.
So why would you put your cars on fresh rubber? That doesn't
And
make
they
any
also,
sense at all. And I think that is the salient point
yeah,
as to why that call was an incorrect call
yeah,
under those circumstances.
yeah.
Another strategy mistake by Mercedes.
And also, that was, correct me if I'm wrong, but that was the second time they had a restart, because the first one was because of Verstappen.
Yes.
They had a safety car, and Russell showed that, I mean, he didn't play any fucking game. He just said, fuck it, I'm gonna accelerate 5 corners before, because
yeah.
I mean, I don't need to play games. I mean, Bottas is sitting duck. I mean, I really have no problem with that. And anybody else, I mean, I'm driving a fucking Mercedes, so nobody's really going to get me. So they had the proof already that in a restart, it would have no problem. So yeah, it was bonkers, really bonkers.
I agree. Okay, so
yeah.
Kurt Russell did very well. I mean, George Russell.
George Russell
did very, very well. We are thrilled, and I think if he'd won the race, there would have been a really good chance that Mercedes would have just said, right, you're out, Bottas. You were disgraced in that, and here we go. Next race, it's Lewis and Russell. You know what I mean? Just straight away, they would have just dumped him. However, that isn't the Mercedes way. They are, they have a loyalty and a lack of blame culture in their team, which basically says that they're going to keep hold of Bottas for next year.
Yeah.
And if I were Lewis, I would be saying, no, he's my butler. Who am I going to have to bring me vegan burgers in the morning?
Right. Yeah.
So I wouldn't want Jack, George, Kurt Russell, whatever his name is, in the second car, because that's just back to the Rosberg days, right? Of fighting.
Yeah, but you see, I mean, Lewis has been pining the whole year, for more competition and more of everything, and now there is this guy which has shown that he can beat the butler. So on paper, this guy is at least behind Lewis, okay? So it's the second best. Let's say Lewis is still better, which I think he is.
Yeah.
So I mean, Lewis has been, calling for competition the whole year and blah 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 blah. And, okay, now we found a guy with a car which can really be fast.
Yeah, I agree, but then it's down to the luck of the gods, and then it's also down to them pushing the car real hard. And that may be not what Mercedes want. Maybe they'd like the competition. Maybe it would be better for Formula One, but they've already made that sacrifice and paid the price.
I know, I agree with you. I'm just saying that, we were talking about before, how this race, opens some scenarios. That's another scenario. Yeah. Maybe it's so basically somebody, the gods, they called Lewis bluff and say, okay, you want competition? There you go. There's this guy. Now what the fuck are you going to do? No, because, we are loyal. Yeah, I mean, fuck off. There is also another thing which one of the kids said, at the end of the race, which I think it's really, really on point. When Russell was called back again because he had a puncture, and and at that point I fell down on my knees and I was really screaming bloody murder, and one of the kids said, see, that wouldn't have happened to Lewis. So, I mean, what the fuck are you talking about? It's a puncture, yeah. But Lewis is so fucking lucky. He can literally win a race on 3 wheels, I say, okay, you have a fucking good point there, yeah. I mean, it's hard to to say, well, yeah. I mean, that was a very good point.
We're going to have to get him on the show next week then, obviously, with comments like that.
Yeah.
But, okay, that got me going there. Yeah, I mean, Lewis wouldn't have come in the pits in the first place, as you rightly said. Yeah. You just would have gone, why are we pitting?
Yeah.
Do we need to pit? Are the guys behind us pitting? No? Okay, I'm not pitting.
Right.
And, you know, if Russell had been in the team a little longer, maybe he would have said the same. Bottas should have won the race because he should have said, are the guys behind pitting? Why am I pitting? And that he should have taken the lead because he's supposedly the lead driver. So, again, it shows he does what the team says. Like you've been saying all year, admittedly. And it cost him dear today.
Yeah, but I think again that was a very good point. I mean, I think that Bottas should really. And I mean, I know I've been shooting at Bottas for the whole year, those reasons. But now I think seriously, he should be asking really, really hard questions. Yeah. There is I mean, not only because of the performance, it's the fact that Russell didn't know the car. He had to drive with shoes one size smaller because he couldn't fit. No, that's true.
Yeah, I know it's true. True.
He doesn't know the car. Yeah. And the reason I'm saying that is because after the first pit stop, he called for no power. And the reason why he called for no power is that he forgot to switch the map. There is only one place where you can actually switch the map now with the new rules, is when you get in the pit lane. So you put the rev limiter and you select another engine map.
Yeah.
And he forgot to reset the map. So he really doesn't fucking know the car. I mean, even the steering wheel is different. It has no display,
Yeah.
And you are Valtteri Bottas. You've been driving that car for 2 years. You know it in and out. And this guy, which doesn't know the car, he misses the braking point. Fuck me, really. Ask yourself some questions.
Yeah, it was an incredibly consistent drive, considering, and he was weak in some corners still managed to do the job.
Yes.
And in the middle sector as well, which is the tricky sector. So I mean, again, I was hugely impressed, and I can't wait for him to be in a Mercedes. I really can't. And I think he's demonstrated that he deserves the spot. Mercedes would be silly to try and put anybody else in that car. And so when they've got such a great thing, and let's just say I don't think it will be 2021, although in the back of my mind I'm thinking Mercedes should do that as well. The teams will be a bit closer next year, etc. Maybe they'd want to get rid of Bottas, although Bottas has been doing number twos quite a lot of the time when his car hasn't had problems. So
shooting himself, number twos.
That's what I was inferring. Yes.
There you go. Yeah. Okay.
When he hasn't been doing number twos, he's been getting number twos.
Yeah.
And so I would really, really like to see Russell there, just to give Lewis a kick up the arse anyway. And I don't think he'll beat Lewis still.
No, I don't think
Lewis
so.
Lewis has still got that extra awareness, which clearly these other race drivers haven't got, because they are beholden to Mercedes in such a way that Lewis isn't, and Lewis gets to call his own strategy, whereas the others don't,
Yeah, but I mean, you see, my thing is that if it's true, I don't know the percentages, exactly, but if it's true, as people say that, in F1, let's say, 80% is the car and 20% is the driver. Somebody says 90% and 10%, those are,
depends on the year, yeah.
Yeah, right. If that is true, that means that Russell is 20% better than Bottas. And that's something which doesn't make any sense. If you were Bottas on a 54, 56 second circuit, I mean, that was insane. After the first pit stop, he had 8 seconds, 7 seconds. That was incredible,
So, he was holding the gap. He wasn't even trying to extend. I mean, that's what's so
but
impressive.
he couldn't. That's the thing. He couldn't, because it was. I think it was 4 seconds before the pit, And then the other guy, with the new tires, he pushed so hard, and Bottas was pushing because he knew, he has to change tires. And still, at the end of it, he had 1.52 seconds more than when he started.
Yeah. It was a 3-second gap, and it came out 4.5 seconds.
Yeah,
or 4 seconds. So it was about 0.8 of a second he made in the pit stops, which is damn good as well. And again, it was one lap after the other, and Bottas, as I say, knew it was coming, so he played the game perfectly. I mean, Bottas didn't drive badly; he just didn't drive exceptionally, and that's what's so amazing about Russell is he's got into a brand new car. As you say, he didn't fit in the car, right? Because it was Lewis's car, and Lewis is a wee man compared to Russell being 6'8" and a fucking gorilla with whatever size 13 boots or something. He had some Pirelli rubber to fuck Bottas with, if you know what I'm saying. And he got a big fucking because he's got big boots. Yeah. Okay, that's wink wink. All the ladies out there will know what I'm talking about. I think again, absolutely stunning by George Russell, who is grandson of Kurt Russell, who has a Jack Russell. So there's tying all three of them together. Okay, I think we've had enough Russell, so to speak. Great great grandson of Bertrand Russell.
One last thing, talking about people which are really disappointed. The owner of the Racing Point.
Lawrence Stroll.
Yeah. So the first victory of his car is not his son, is the driver, which he fired for next season. He was happy, but I think he was crying inside. It could. I mean, I think that it was one of the situations where you want to be mad, but you can't.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So that was.
And again, I mean, Sergio drove really, really well. He got lucky. He got lucky to do it, no doubt. But he deserves the luck, of course. Lance, he had some strategy issues. They bitted him a little too early. The undercut didn't work. He got trapped behind. Ocon, I think.
Yeah.
Who was a bit slow to start with, and then couldn't seem to get by. Now, why he couldn't get by when Perez flew by Ricciardo earlier, I've got no idea.
I mean, the comparison was even worse than Russell and Bottas. I mean, because Perez, as you pointed out, he basically started the race from the last position because he had to change tires. So, and he managed to win the race. And that other guy, which wasn't last, I think it was 8 at the time or stuff like that, he just couldn't find his way around the track. It was embarrassing to watch.
I don't know about embarrassing, but I think again, I think the aggressiveness and the thing with Perez, he did his overtaking at just the right times when he had the rubber advantage, and now the way they were pitting Lance Stroll. He never had the rubber advantage to do that, to do the same thing. No,
I agree.
That was the difference. It was the timing on the way that the rubber was used, and the fact that Perez managed to keep his rubber for longer to put him in a position to be able to use rubber to overtake. And Lance didn't do any of that because he was trapped behind cars where he couldn't keep his rubber. So
you're right.
For me, that was the difference there. And, I hate to say this, but they drove pretty much similar races as far as I could see.
I'm saying it was embarrassing compared to how the other guy performed with the same car.
Sure.
And there is also the fact that, again, Stroll was in a position where you would expect that the whole team is setting up a strategy for the best driver, and at the time it was him without any doubt. The other guy was at the end of the pack. He had all the cards. He had the car which proved out to be the car which was going to win the race. It was in the best position. However you see that, and you're right. I mean, you made some very good point, but it remains to be seen if he didn't put himself into that position or he just found himself into that position. Because Perez, it didn't give a flying fuck what position he was in. His position was, I got to overtake everybody.
Yeah. I mean, again, I think for me it was that Lance Stroll was lock-in set with the other pitters, and therefore was always behind someone. He came out in traffic, etc., and was always trying to overtake the same people. That was the problem. Whereas Perez, because he pitted on lap 2 or 1 rather, I think that put him out of step, right? And he still did He still did 2 pit stops. He just conserved his tires really well in the first series, and then had to do the same thing again in the second. So again, I think he was out of step, and that really played into his advantage because he wasn't trapped behind such significantly same speed cars right up until the end. And then when he was there, that's when the second safety car came out, and he managed to take advantage of that really, really well with fresh rubber again.
And by the way, at the second pit stop, I really thought to myself that in Racing Point, they were trying to make Perez lose, because I thought that so the way that he managed the first set of tires, then he switched to yellow tires, and the second time I thought okay, they're gonna put him on red tires, because he showed that he can actually.
Keep the tires in,
yeah, and they didn't. So I say, okay, they're trying to make him, go behind. Stroll.
Again, I have a feeling that was because he didn't have any fresh reds.
Maybe you're right. Yeah,
I think they only had fresh yellows. So, fresh yellows are better than non-fresh reds in that case. But either way, I mean, it was well done to Perez. I'm so glad he's got a race win, because we've seen him so many years. Have I seen him come second when he should have had a race win? So I'm really glad that he's done that. He certainly deserves it. Now, okay, just to briefly go through, because we need to start wrapping it up. Esteban Ocon, that was a bit of a surprise second place for me.
Yeah.
I mean, he kept his nose out of trouble. He kept clean. He kept driving consistently. And again, he had the luck of the pits at the right time. So
yes,
I was quite impressed by that. He was lucky to get by Stroll in that, he took advantage when Esteban went by him and followed him through. I think it caught Stroll a little bit unawares that Sergio was coming past at such a speed. He locked up into a corner, and that gave Esteban a chance, and he took it straight away. So fair play to Esteban. Well done. That bodes well for next year as well, when Alonso will be there. And Esteban is a very fast driver. I mean, he is on the George Russell same plane, in terms of he's a very intelligent driver, aware of his situation around him, and can keep the car consistently fast. So that's good news for next year for Renault. Fourth was Carlos Sainz.
Amazing drive.
A really good drive again, considering the car wasn't very fast the whole weekend. So again, he managed to keep in the right place at the right time, do the right strategy. Again, he was a two-stopper, and I think it was a two-stopper. I might be wrong there.
I don't know, but I think he had one of the best radios. When he said, "What is this Merc doing?" It was way faster than Bottas. He could listen there.
Yeah.
And I think that talking about luck, Stroll was kind of, well, I wouldn't say lucky, but the race was over because Sainz was all over his place. It was all over Stroll.
For sure. I thought Stroll did well to defend there, actually. He kept up enough speed with the tyres that he had to do a good enough job to bring it home in third place. So I actually thought Stroll did really well, considering how aggressive Sainz was trying to put him under pressure. He didn't really suffer. And it goes to show that he has got a cool head under that helmet, and he's not some fly-by-night driver. So again, I'm really looking forward to him next year with Vettel. And seeing those two go. I think Stroll's going to become a really good driver next year when he watches Vettel up close. sees how he sets his car up, etc., to maximise the rear tyres, and that will teach him a good lesson, and a lesson which I think he'll learn a lot from. Whereas Perez, it's difficult. I don't think he's learned a hell of a lot from Perez, other than maybe just to keep his head down and keep driving.
No, I agree. I mean, Perez is fast, but he doesn't know why he's fast.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that as well. Yeah.
Okay. Norris made a very good race.
He did it all on the first lap.
Yeah.
That was an amazing thing.
Yeah.
He had a good lap. He had a good first lap, and the rest was just average Norris. So
Sebastian made the race that he could make with that car. I think it's just looking at this season to be over. To be honest,
I agree 100%.
And I think that was already vindicated after the first lap incident. So after he saw that, he said, "You know what? Fuck it, my job is done. Fuck it."
Yeah. Again, I don't think his heart's not in it, so he's not going to race hard. He's just going to race for fun, and that's fine. A couple of just mentions quickly then. Ricardo, a bit disappointing, really.
Yeah.
I felt he should have been up higher. But again, I think he suffered from the same problem Stroll suffered from, which was he got trapped behind cars which were an equal speed and couldn't get by easily enough, and then used his tyres up too quickly to allow him to do anything. So he had to settle in for 5th place. 6th place, Alex Albon, which was, what would you say to that race?
Well, I'm not saying anything about it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
It was very disappointing race from Alex Albon.
Yeah.
He had a really huge opportunity there, but I think the decision's been made. I'll be honest with you now. Looking at how they set his car up, right? It just, I don't know. I mean, this is supposedly, one of the faster circuits, right? And his car was set up to be slow again.
Yeah.
Why are they setting up his car to be slow? Because they don't trust him. Like not to spin, basically. So they're just piling on the downforce so he doesn't spin, right? Well, that's not going to win in races. That's why he's slower than Verstappen. And I've been saying this for 3-4 races now. So this is nothing new to you, but that's why he's slower than Verstappen. It's not to do with the fact he can't drive the car faster. It's because they keep piling the downforce on because he's got no feeling for the car, and that's
maybe
Max's advantage. He doesn't care about having a really loose rear end. So there you go. Kvyat in a really good 7th place, I felt. So really, it's nice of him to turn up this year at least once, and because the rest of the year's been pretty shit. But he was there, 7th place. Then Bottas 8th. George Russell in 9th place, which we've talked about a lot. Lando in 10th place. Really good drive from Lando, I suppose. And after that, who really cares? The rest were just the rest. Everybody else had quite poor races. The circuit, not bad, really.
I loved it. I had really low expectations, but actually it turned out to be a really fun track to see those cars going by. So good thing. I mean, I was disappointed. I mean, I had really low expectation, and I was really having a lot of fun, watching them. So good.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. I felt a little disappointed. I thought that the straights weren't quite. Maybe they weren't. Maybe the DS was too short, or maybe it's these cars. I'm not sure, but we were suffering from, again, the same problem. I guess it's because we're at the end of the year. All the cars have been developed now, and you can't follow a car again. So I'm hoping next year with the new.
That was actually really interesting, because I thought they would have had way more problems following each other, and it didn't seem to be the case. They were at the point where I think it was from the 3rd to 7th position. They were all in a pack, and it seems to me they were all able to stay in each other's tail. So maybe it's because the low downforce. Maybe it's because the DRS was basically on every time where it was need to be. But that was one of the other things which I actually liked about the circuit. So
I agree the distances were shorter, but by what I mean by unable to follow is that unable to keep the tyres in when they were that close, and really they should have. So anyway, there you go. There you go. Okay, so we're just about to finish. A quick one from Carl Brugananadskidalibski, who I happen to know. No problem, mate. It was a pleasure to see you in there, and I did listen in that hangout. This is from a previous hangout I was in.
Okay.
Okay, so other than that, I think we're pretty much done. We're moving on next week, which is a triple header. Next week to Abu Dhabi. It will probably be too quick, and we're hoping to see George Russell there. We would expect that anyway. I haven't heard anything today from the Mercedes team saying that Lewis has passed the test. So I'm assuming that he hasn't, in which case I'm assuming that Russell will be there. So fantastic.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to see Russell again. And I'm sure Bottas feels the same way. So there you go. Thanks very much, Fabio. Any final words on the Grand Prix or coming up or Abu Dhabi or the year?
Well, not really. I mean, but we just hope it's going to be, a good race. That was actually a nice year. The only thing that I have to say at the end is that I want to congratulate Mick Schumacher for winning his championship. So that makes 8 world titles for the Schumacher family. So yeah, I mean, he managed to win the race and win the championship by getting 18th, which, if it doesn't speak volumes about how much of a consistent driver is, I don't know what the fuck it is.
Oh my god, right? This has always been my worry about Schumacher, because clearly he's there on name, not necessarily on talent. And when he gets into the Haas, he will die. But anyway, maybe he's outgrown the F2 cars now, and I'm glad he's going to be in. I for one will be happy if he gets into a Haas and does well enough to move up through the ranks a little bit, because one thing Schumacher, older, the Michael Schumacher had, was plenty of excess brain power to be able to work out what was going on in the race around him and what other people's strategies were, and take advantage of those. And if this guy is half as intelligent as his uncle, I think it's his uncle, then great. We're gonna have a great addition to the track.
Yes, he has big shoes to fill, for sure. But the thing is that he won this championship. He basically made 2 mistakes in the whole championship, and he made those 2 mistakes the last race. So if that doesn't say Schumacher, I don't know what it is. So we'll see what happens. I mean, the GP, the F2 or GP2 or whatever the fuck they call it, I don't even know anymore. It's not something that is automatically makes you a good F1 driver. But we've had Leclerc and Verstappen coming out, those series, and Russell too. So I just hope that he's another one of that breed, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely, and okay. So we'll leave it there. I think I won't say anything else about the Schumacher.
Because he won. There is another Schumacher winning world championship.
Okay, I will say something then, just because you prompted me again. At least he didn't have to cheat to win this championship, so there's something there.
Oh, that's really salty. Oh, super salty.
Of course I am. So thank you very much.
Super salty.
Thank you very much, Fabio. And I'll say ciao for now, and see you next week. Take care, everybody. Ciao.